Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new series. My name is Eric Ravenscroft, real estate strategist and advisor here in Arizona. With me is Zach Wain, broker and owner of Wain Capital. Today, we're going to talk to you about investing here in Arizona, various strategies to consider, some of the areas in addition to the lending products that make this possible. So, to start us off, I'm going to introduce Zach Wain.
Thank you very much, Eric. As Eric mentioned, I'm a mortgage broker, been operating my business since 2019, loan officer since 2006, and worked with numerous investors, tons of clients of Eric's as well. And a lot of them are investor focused, and a lot of the big topics today, short-term rentals versus long-term rentals, and how that plays out in the real world in real estate, but also on the mortgage side. So I'm going to talk about the mortgage side, what differentiates occupancy of vacation home versus rental home, and then we'll work through those processes, and Eric will show you the real life application of what that looks like. So let me share my screen real quick. And all right, so in mortgage world, when it comes to occupancy, what do we call this? There's three types of occupancies. There's primary home, second/vacation home, and rental home. So for this conversation, primary home is kind of out the window. We're not occupying the home as a primary. So what are we calling these investments? A second/vacation home is the same thing, same terminology, same thing. And a lot of people ask, you could have 4 or 5 homes, rental homes, and you can still buy a vacation second home. So it's not the number of homes you own, it's just a vacation home versus an actual investment rental property. One of the biggest factors, the most important factor, if you're going to call this a vacation home, is that the most important guideline is you have to occupy the home for some portion of the year. The actual Fannie Mae guideline says some portion of the year. So there's not like a day count. You have to be in it for 14 or 30 days or whatever, but you, your family, whatever, have to use it, have to occupy it for some portion of the year, whatever that means to you. And that only counts for the first year of ownership as well. So if you're going to call it a vacation home, go use it as a vacation home, use it, and you could rent it out the rest of the time. 100% okay. An actual rental property would be like a long-term renter where you're not going to occupy the home at all. You have a tenant in there for a year. That's a true investment property as far as mortgage world and occupancy goes. There's some other requirements. It's rare, but it has to be a 1 unit home. Like you can't have a duplex. That's a vacation home. It's just not allowed. And there's some other rules that I honestly have never even had to deal with. It has to be suitable for year-round occupancy, exclusive control, no timeshares, little things like that. But the main thing is if it's a vacation home where you're going to occupy it and use it in a 1 unit home. So on this slide, there's a fair amount of info, and I'm going to walk through most of it and go into a little bit of depth. But really pros, cons, differences of vacation home and a rental home, because sometimes borrowers going to have the option, like, what do we call this? Like, it's going to be a short-term rental. Should I call it a rental home? Should I call it a vacation home? It meets both criteria. What do we do? So for some differences, one of the most common things that people point out and want to know about is down payment. And you can put as little as 10% down with a conventional vacation. Rentals 15% down. Small difference, but sometimes leveraging is really important to investors and they just want the lowest amount down. Next slide, I'll show you how that actually plays out with rates and pricing, and the rates higher, the fees are higher and all that, but we'll go into that on next slide. But it's important to know as little as 10% down, and rates get better with 20% down, 25% down, even 30% down. Pricing keeps getting better and better and better. So with investors, there's always, how much do we want to leverage? How much do we want to have for the next transaction? Is this cash flowing? Is it not? And that's some of the stuff that, on a one-on-one basis, we'll go over in much more depth with a client. When it comes to conventional homes, I don't want to go into this too much, but Eric, I know we've done this with lots of clients in the past. When you have 20% down, we could search for an appraisal waiver on the home. And if the property that your client really loves could get an appraisal waiver, we skip the appraisal process. We can potentially help you negotiate a little bit better, close faster, try and help them get the deal. So that could be a whole other topic for another day, but it is eligible and we can search for appraisal waivers when you're doing 20% down on a vacation home. Rental, no dice at all. It does get a little interesting when we go into jumbo loan sizes, and are we over under the national conventional loan size limit, which is 766,550. always an odd number. But jumbo vacation home rates can sometimes be a little bit better, actually. And, if you go into there, the guidelines change, but just know there's still products. There's still stuff for you if it's a larger, more expensive vacation home. And it's just a whole other product mix. We just have more options. We have more things to look at. Some of our lenders even allow us to go jumbo when it's a smaller loan size and it's just a portfolio product that may have a better rate. So second home, you tend to have more products, more options, more ways to structure it. And as the past couple of years have gone on, there's been more what are called non-QM loans, non-conventional loans that come up. And again, in vacation home land, bank statement loans for your self-employed clients out there. Maybe you run your own business, you have a ton of write-offs, and you can't get a normal loan. Bank statement loans are out there where they just look at your bank statements, they just look at your revenues to see if they think your business has enough income and cash, and you qualify that way. And that has actually really great pricing for vacation homes as well. So tons of product options, tons of ways to get it done. This does apply to a few people, and it is an important side note that even if it's going to be a short-term rental, but we're calling it a vacation home for whatever various reason, you can't use any rental income to help you qualify. So if debt to income ratio is a little tight, call it a vacation home, you get no actual income from that subject property on your file to help you qualify. If you call it a rental home, an investment home, we can use projected rents from that property to help you qualify on your file. So, sometimes borrowers want it, they're thinking this way, and then we end up going that way. But it's just good to know there's options and different ways to structure this up depending on the client's needs, their profile, what they want to accomplish. But that's a lot of the pieces about vacation homes. And when it comes to rental homes, a very important distinction is, several years ago, Eric, I know you remember this, but second home vacation home rates were the same as primary, and it was killer. It was awesome. And rental home rates were just way up here, and vacation home was way down here, and it was so cool. A couple of years ago, that went away. And for most programs, not all, but most, the rates are actually pretty similar between the two now. Jumbo may vary a little, so I don't want to say across the board they're the same, but they are much more similar now. Vacation and rental pricing are very similar, whereas primary is going to be better. So that's another common question. Rate is not really differentiated that much between the two products. Some quick pieces on rental homes. 15% down is the minimum. Okay. A little bit more than vacation home, but as we show pricing on the next page, a lot of people will, opt for 20% down, sometimes 25% down, make the numbers look a little bit better. But technically, you do 15% down conventional on a rental home. And it's very easy, as I just mentioned a moment ago, to use that subject property rents to help you qualify. If you need that income from the subject property you're buying to add to your file to qualify, rental home, it's easy. Appraiser will go out there. Hey, you're buying a home for $500K. It's worth $500K, and they think the long-term rents are going to be $3,000. Great. We get to take a chunk of that $3,000, not all of it, but most of it, and count that towards your file to help you qualify. Now, again, as there's been more non-conventional, these non-QM loans are coming out, there's been some that are also rental home only and investor only focused that can help people buy some of these short-term rentals. So again, a short-term rental can fall as vacation. It can fall as a rental home. It just kind of depends. But specifically in the rental home occupancy world of mortgage land, there's a product called DSCR, just debt service coverage ratio. All it stands for is the lender doesn't care about your income. They care about your credit score, down payment, and does this property, the rental you're buying, does it cash flow or does it not? By how much, or how much is it in the negative? And that determines the whole product mix. That determines the rate, the down payment, what everything looks like. And when they first came out, it was long-term rents only. But as home prices have gone up and rates have gone up, it's really hard to cash flow on long-term. So some of our lenders now are offering short-term rental income analysis on these DSCR loans. So sometimes, you may buy a home in if it's West Valley in Phoenix, if it's Northern Arizona, if it's in Scottsdale, and the long-term rents really don't cash flow, and it's not the best product with DSCR. But when we do a short-term analysis all right, it's cash flow positive. It actually looks really great. So, the lenders have been creative. They are coming out with more products to fit, whether it's vacation home, whether it's rental home, and just different structures for both. But this is a very quick rundown of all these different programs within them. I could go on and blab for another half hour, but just to show you some of the differences between the two occupancy types of vacation home and rental home and how it may play out when it's getting pre-qualified, getting approved, loan product selection, and so forth. So, this is going to be one of the options that Eric talks about, and it's a bunch of numbers. So I'm going to go over it just extremely quick, and then we'll show another one and then off to Eric so he can show you guys the fun stuff. But this is a scenario where it's a $730,000 sales price on a short-term rental. And real quick, on the left side is 10% down vacation home, because 10% down has to be vacation home. 20% down, it's the same rates for this product as a rental or as a vacation home is in the middle. To the right is 25% down. Again, it's same rates with vacation and rental for this situation. These rates are from 5.7. Rates change every day. It looks totally different by the time you're reading this, but this just gives you an idea of the pricing gaps in rate and cost from 10%, 20%, 25% down, because these are the most common examples. So real fast, 10% down on the left side, you see the interest rate, 8.125, but right below it, discount points. They're very high, very high. 2.25% of the loan size, which is almost 15 grand just in discount points. And you have your title fees, tax, insurance, everything else. So in this higher rate environment, for the ability to only put 10% down, you're paying a lot in fees to get that. So it's important to know, and a lot of people get sticker shock with that. 6 months from now, it's going to look different, but there's still going to be this difference from 10% to 20 to 25. So in the 20% bucket, 20% down, you see the rate 7.99. This much better, but the discount points are drastically cut down to about $5,800. So huge difference in the upfront cost of getting the loan from 10 to 20. Then 25% down, you see a bigger jump in rate, significant, from 7.99 to 7.5, and also a reduction in the discount points for these exact scenarios. Tons of ways to quote them. Again, was just trying to show you this scenario and the differences between 10, 20, and 25. Now, let me click over. Oh, let me go back. Here's the second option. It's not all that different, so 2 seconds on it, but it's a $552K sales price. 10% down, 20% down, 25% down. So again, the rate, the cost is pretty similar in this bucket. When you see the higher closing cost with 10% down, gets a little bit better at 20. It's not bad at 20, and then 25 as well. So when you're going through these slides, you can look at the monthly payments. You can put that together and compare to, Eric's analysis. Does this cash flow? Does it not? Again, rates are going to change, and we'll do a fresh analysis whenever anyone is ready to look at these numbers. But that's a quick run through of differences between vacation, rental homes, program types, options, and how it reflects in actual pricing. So let me kick back over there. And Eric, take it away with the real life application of what it looks like.
Perfect. Thank you, Zach. So we're going to go through a little bit about just the general investing in real estate, the opportunities here, and I'm really going to spend some time to educate on just Arizona in general, because it is very different than any other market. So a little bit about me. I've been in wealth management and real estate for 14 years now. I am a certified residential specialist. So that's the top 2% of real estate agents and professionals across the country have this designation. In addition, I am a preferred partner in the vacation and short-term rental space. So whether that's property managers, short-term rental managers, or other companies that are in that space, I am the preferred agent here in the greater Phoenix metro, working with buyers and investors, and of course, real estate strategist and wealth advisor. I look at real estate truly as an asset class. Yes, it is a home, it is a place to live, it is a place to vacation, but more importantly, it is an investment at the end of the day. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Few things to know with regards to short-term rentals under 30 days. They do offer high potential but it also your increased risk as well. You also do have higher expenses with short-term rentals because you are furnishing the property, you're paying for utilities, internet, cable, things of that nature. So, despite the potential for greater returns, managing, like I said, it does have a higher upfront cost. So, really depends on your risk tolerance. If you are wanting to take more risks, the revenue is there. You just need to know when you're dealing with a short-term rental that has what we would call the revolving door effect, people in and out every week or every other week, there's more of a chance for things to get damaged, and more risk. So, something to keep in mind with that. The other thing with Arizona, and specifically the greater Phoenix metro, we are comprised of a lot of HOAs. We have some areas that don't have HOAs, some that do. Usually, we see if a home was built after 95, it's a higher probability of it having an HOA. And most things after the year 2005 have HOAs in place. So, HOAs still do have power here. They could say, we do not allow short term rentals. Some can say, we only allow a 30-day stay, a 60-day, or in some areas, 6 months to 12 months as far as a restriction. This is changing. It's going to continue to change. There's a lot of talk about the state law not having any restrictions. So, what power do HOAs have? This is probably something we're going to see for the foreseeable future. We're looking maybe 3, 5, 10 years until this is actually determined on what's going to happen. But something to keep in mind. So, with myself, I've been tracking short term rentals in addition to the communities that allow them for the last 8 years now. So, when a client comes to me and says, I want to be able to do a midterm rental or a short term rental, we can position them and show them properties in communities that have absolutely no restrictions and are heavy on ownership of either investment properties or second home ownership. Um, Various areas. So, Zach had mentioned West Valley, Northern Arizona, Scottsdale, other areas in Phoenix. Each city has its own advantages. Some cities are more saturated than others, and then others are more what we would consider value opportunities, where your price point is going to be a little bit less, your revenue might be a little bit less, but if you're creative and utilizing some of the income strategies that we're going to talk about, you can actually net a little bit higher of a return because maybe there is not as much competition in that area. So, something we can always go through in more detail depending on your budget and area. Sometimes different cities make more sense than others. And then the characteristics of a home are really what going to drive your revenue. The more sleeping capacity that you have in any of these homes, the higher your revenue. Things like a pool, a hot tub, a home office where you can get increased sleeping capacity. In addition to unique factors, you think about it when you go on vacation rental sites such as Airbnb. What is it that you're looking for? Are you looking for a pool, a hot tub? Are you maybe looking for a home office, a place to work while you're on vacation? Uh, or unique things like we're starting to see more clients put what I call gaming elements into the home, where you'll have cornhole boards in the back. We have a few clients that have actually installed pickleball courts in the backyard because of how popular pickleball is. So things like that, when you're envisioning what someone wants in a vacation home, things that they want to do, whether it's maybe a couple, a young family, a larger family, what is going to bring them to that home time and time again, in addition to what's going to make sure that that occupancy is filled. So let's go into some examples here. Zach had run through the lending side on this. This is an actual client example with this one. This, I say, is the ideal option for a number of reasons. One is this property is in a community that has no short term rental restrictions. So you can have this be a long term rental, sign a rental agreement for 12 months. This could be a midterm rental where you're signing maybe a month to month agreement, or it could be a true short term rental. Someone can stay for 2 days, a week, 2 weeks. There are no restrictions. Another reason why this is an ideal option is the size and the occupancy. So with this home, there's 5 bedrooms, but there's also a separate guest house in addition to a finished basement. So when you look at the potential for this, you right off the bat have 5 bedrooms. You then have a separate guest house that could be used as another area for sleeping capacity and a finished basement. The possibilities are endless. Down there, you can throw different types of beds, bunk beds for kids. You can put king size, full size bed. There's a lot of ways to look at this. The other thing is this home has a heated pool and spa. So when we have people that are coming into town in, let's say, October to March, I don't know if any of you that are watching this have come to Arizona during that time, but if you do not have a heated pool, chances are you are not getting in that water because it is too cold. I know Zach can attest to that. Um, you're not getting in that water. So having a heated pool where when it's December and say it's 65, 70 degrees outside, but the alternative of someone coming from, say, Chicago, Seattle, even Canada, that's very appealing to them, being in sunshine, being able to use a pool. So having a heated pool and being able to use it year round can drive additional revenue. So with this example, as I show here, it's in Goodyear, Arizona. The projected revenue on this property is 120,000 to 140,000. Now, with this specific scenario, this is a vacation rental that is used as personal use here and there. Um, there are different strategies that this specific client utilizes. They do have it on Airbnb and other vacation portals. But for example, in the summer, they have it rented out for 3 months to someone who is waiting for their new build home to be completed. So they rented this out in May to a family that needed to be here by July before school started, but their new build home is not going to be done till September. So this is rented out as a midterm rental for 3 months, 4 months, depending on the build time if that gets delayed. And then once we get into October, this is now going to be a short term rental where they're going to put it on Airbnb in addition to some other channels as a true short term, either 2 days, weekend, a whole week stay. So this is an example where I'd say ideal option. You have the heated pool, you have the space, you have the basement where you can do really cool game rooms, movie rooms. The possibilities are really endless with this property. So the next one we're going to talk about is a midterm. This property is actually currently being used as a long term, but there are potential for this to be a midterm rental. So this property was purchased for 552. It is in Chandler, Arizona. It's actually about probably about 2 to 3 minutes away from Intel. So with this projected revenue from a long-term standpoint is $3,000 a month. Now, I believe on the scenario that Zach had shown with 20 or 25% down on this, with today's rates, your monthly mortgage was right around 2,600, 2,600 or so. If you're factoring in HOA, property taxes, you're pretty close to being in the green, which we don't see all that often, um, really anywhere across the metro. So in this case, $3,000 a month, or you could do a midterm rental. A midterm rental with this area could encompass renting it out to employees that work for Intel, those that are maybe coming short term, staying for a month, staying for 2 months, executives that are flying in from other parts of the country, don't necessarily want to stay in a hotel. So here's another opportunity in that area. Once we get to, say, October to April, this can then be snowbirds. Chandler is a very popular place for snowbirds. You have Sunset or Sun Lakes, which is just south of it, which is a popular retirement community. You have easy access to Phoenix, Scottsdale, other areas in the metro. So this could easily be turned into a midterm rental specifically for those who want to capture the sunshine and the great weather that we have from that time frame. This does not have a pool, and that is kind of a common misconception is to have a successful either vacation rental or just investment property, it does not necessarily have to have a pool. You can earn higher revenue if you have one, But with a pool also comes added expenses. So we can always go through different scenarios on whether a pool makes sense, whether it doesn't. For this example, too, while it has a community pool, you can easily add an above ground hot tub. And from October to again March, April, hot tubs are extremely popular because it does get a little bit chilly at night. So being able to advertise that you can relax in a hot tub for that small expense, let's say it's eight to $12,000 for an above ground hot tub, you can easily see that return. And usually the average is about 10,000 in additional revenue. So you could see that come back to you full swing, paid for itself in one short year. So again, you don't need to have a pool. This community, as it shows, there are no short-term rentals allowed. So this is a newer community. This community started in 2021. So it does have HOA, and the HOA specifically states you cannot do rentals less than 30 days. So that's where this community, this option would be prime for a long-term rental because we're close to Intel, the rents are higher, or it could be a good midterm option as well. So next, we're going to go into what would be a good short-term, true short-term rental option. So this is in the very highly regarded and popular city of Gilbert, Arizona. This projected revenue is 102,000 to 110,000. So it does have the pool. It has 5 bedrooms, and it has a good amount of size, 2,800 plus square feet. So with this property, this would be an ideal one where you were having it on Airbnb. We're also utilizing some of the various strategies that we'll talk here in a second on generating income, different things that you can do to the property, in addition, different ways that you can market it. And then finally, another midterm option. This is another example of a client that had purchased this home. This was in Chandler, Arizona. Again, just like a previous slides ago, this was a property that is near Intel. So it's a smaller home. It's 1,200 square feet, just under 1,300 square feet. They did add an above ground spa. So again, that's increasing their revenue. It's only at 3 bedrooms. So again, it's small. But again, for those who are traveling to the area, maybe it's an executive, someone working with Intel training, or snowbirds. Maybe it's a couple. Maybe it's someone that's working remotely and wants to spend 6 months down here. It's a perfect option. It's a low basis at 425, and the revenue there 52,000 to 62,000. So I'm going to go through just really high level some strategies because number one is the one that everyone knows. It's the traditional Airbnb. You post it on a vacation website and you kind of hope for the best. I would say of clients doing this, they are not that successful because of the saturation, because of how many vacation rentals are out there. Um, this is what you do as a default. You should definitely be implementing a lot more than just that top one, the traditional Airbnb route. The other thing is friends and family, posting it on social media, letting everyone that you know, I have a vacation property in Arizona, having a link to it to be able to share it. There's some people, they get very creative. I know some that have dedicated websites for their property, some that have dedicated social media platforms for their property, and not a lot that do this. I think it's a fantastic idea, though, is doing email marketing for your property. Things of the nature would be creating a email series that goes out once a month, and everyone that's expressed interest, everyone that stayed there, you're just sending them an email talking about what you did to the property, maybe a discounted rate that you're offering for the month of June, July, or something along those lines, or what you've left behind in the home as maybe an incentive for those who are staying there. Simple things such as, say, when we had the Super Bowl here or when we had Final Four, you could have a gift basket. You could have free pizza to the local pizzeria down the street. Getting creative like that definitely creates an experience, and that's what people want when they book a vacation rental. So that's an easy one. Friends and family, letting everyone know that you have this place, in addition to getting creative with the website, social media, and of course, a little bit more time to build it out, but having email marketing with that. The other big one here is traveling nurses. So traveling nurses will have, usually 2 to 3 month contracts, maybe sometimes longer. Renting out to traveling nurses could be a really good way to generate income, either while you're not using it, during a time where, like the summer, where revenues are lower. That is something that a lot of people are implementing, and that would fall under the midterm category because we're over 30 days. So if you're looking at a property that's near around a hospital that has a lot of amenities, traveling nurse as a tenant could be a great option. We talked about local employers. So I mentioned Intel, but here in the greater Phoenix metro, we have a lot of different employers all across the area, from semiconductor to healthcare to finance. Um, that is another option, is reaching out to those employers. If you're connecting with people within HR talking about, hey, I have this property, it's available on a midterm basis or short term basis, send them the website, send them the link. They then can potentially send you some people to rent that out when they have a need of people visiting, traveling, training, etc. Spring training, that's a big one. So from February to March, that's actually our peak season when it comes to vacation rentals. I produce a featured property investment opportunity every week, and I put a chart on there every single time I do that. You always see the peak in March. That's where you can earn the highest amount of revenue, not necessarily just because of spring training, but because the weather is great. We don't really get that cold, sunshine pretty much every single day. So we do have a lot of people that are coming here in March because of the weather, in addition to spring training. So potentially purchasing a property in and around an area that is near a spring training stadium can drive a lot of revenue to you. That could be fans that are renting it out, but that also could be players, in addition to coaches, personnel, or scouts. They all need housing when they're here. Most don't want to stay in a hotel. So that is a great strategy to implement. I talked about snowbirds, those who are traveling from colder climates down here to Arizona. With that, snowbirds really just want access to amenities, maybe some dining, golf courses, and sunshine. So with the snowbird strategy and approach, you don't necessarily have to be in one area or the other. It could be anywhere across the metro where a snowbird strategy could make a lot of sense. Typically with snowbirds too, is they're staying for longer terms. They may stay for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, sometimes up to 6 months. So with that, you kind of have peace of mind knowing someone's in there. They actually may even take better care of the home than you would. So snowbird, great strategy to consider. This is kind of a new one that I don't really see a lot of people advertising or talking about. But with my clients, what they do is, I have a lot of relationships with builders here locally. So we actually have clients put together a flyer, a website, some type of advertising, and I will go around to the various builders that are near where that property is. And now builders have the opportunity to market that home to buyers that maybe their home is not done. I talked about that in the first example, where buyers that need to be here by a specific time, maybe for school or jobs, relocation, and their home that they're building is not done yet. This is an easy way where the builder can offer a solution to ensure that that buyer is moving forward. And it's a win for our clients that get that home rented out. So having that offering, putting a flyer together, utilizing the connections that we have, that I have, could make that a really good strategy. Whether it's taking advantage of having your house booked and rented out during the slower summer months, or if it is, in fact, say around the holidays and people just want something more permanent for 3, 4 months, there's a little bit of premium that you can charge on that and make additional income and revenue. Local sporting events. So just like spring training, we have all major sporting events here. We get the Super Bowl every now and then. We have big golf tournaments, the Final Four. So if you're near some of these stadiums and arenas, and it's a big game, the team's performing well, there's playoffs, you can then earn much more revenue by renting out to those who are coming in to watch or experience that sporting event. Travel partners. This is a new one that is exclusive with just a few of the vacation rental partners that we have here in Arizona. If you use, credit cards such as American Express, Chase, those are really the two big ones. When you go on to use miles on those portals, you will now start to see vacation rentals on there. You may have already seen it. Most of the time, it's just hotels. With some of the partnerships that we have here in the greater Phoenix metro, and clients who opt to use those vacation managers to manage their vacation rental, their property will now get in the feed when someone is looking to book a stay here. So, say you had a property in Scottsdale, you have that manager that's managing the home for you. You will now get in search results. So that is another way, another strategy where you can earn additional income, get really additional exposure for people who are now redeeming miles to book your property. Relocations, those who need to be here, short-term stay. Again, they're waiting for their home. Maybe they want to make sure they like Arizona or Phoenix before they move forward with the purchase. So being in that home for 6 months, 3 months, making sure it's the right fit for them makes a lot of sense. Experience, I talked about that. I talked about you need to create an experience. What I always recommend to clients who are purchasing vacation rentals is whatever city they're looking at, go on Airbnb, go on the vacation sites, look at all the different properties. What is missing from them? What do they have? If you went on right now and you went on Airbnb, and I invite everyone to do this, go on Airbnb and you are going to see a ton of standard 3 bedroom, 2 bath properties that don't have an experience. Maybe they don't have a game room. Maybe they don't even have a pool table. A lot of them don't focus on the experience of just relaxing at night, where people want to sit on a couch, watch a movie, or cook food in a nice kitchen. There's very simple things that are missing from short-term rentals or just vacation rentals, where people think, again, I'm going to throw this on Airbnb and see what happens. Utilizing all these strategies, it creates an experience, it makes it unique. Go into the backyard, installing a putting green. You can spend very little money in installing a putting green. And those, especially who are coming here, maybe they want to be outside doing that, having, again, that gaming element is very, very important. And then, of course, building a business. This is a business at the end of the day, right? It's you, anything that you're going to generate income from, you need to be looking at this as a business. While you could use it for yourself as a vacation home, if you want to offset that cost and generate a little bit extra income and revenue, have that mindset where you're going to be looking at the cost, how you're building it out, what's going to be attractive to people. And like I mentioned, with your outreach, you want to be strategic of having email list, having social media accounts for that property, sharing it with friends and family, in addition to utilizing professionals like myself and Zach to make sure that you are going in at this the right way. So with that, I thank you everyone for watching this. Zach and I are available at any time to go through different scenarios. If you identify a property and you want to know, would this make a good vacation rental, feel free to reach out to us. Zach can run the projections on what your cost would look like. Can go through different various loan products. In addition, I can run through projections. What would it look like on a long term, midterm, and short-term rental? So with that, Zach, do you have anything else to add in closing?
Not just, Eric, we've worked together for years. We've talked about a good amount of those strategies, but when you put it all together, like it really is impressive, and it really shows, it matters. It's important to work with great professionals, as you said, like yourself, other great realtors out there as well, a good mortgage professional. But yeah, it's not as simple as Airbnb. There's so many other ways that you could add value, add revenue, and having those strategies in place is just a game changer. So I love it, hearing it all at once instead of just one at a time, which is really powerful. So I just want to say that's awesome. And it's, know your stuff, man. So hats off.
Thank you. Thank you. And then for everyone watching, Zach and I will be doing more of these as time goes on. It may be more income specific, as far as maybe turning your property into an income generating asset. So turning that primary into a vacation rental, short-term rental, and then utilizing myself and Zach being able to help with the new primary loan, me being able to find that new primary. Maybe it's something where you'd want to start building up a rental or just real estate portfolio where that new primary you're purchasing in an area that could qualify as a short-term rental. So then you're going to maybe turn that into a income generating asset in the future. So a lot of different opportunities. We're going to make sure that this series is very value driven. Zach talking about the lending side, getting very creative, and then me talking about the real estate side, different strategies that one can implement to make the purchase and owning real estate here in Arizona a reality. If anyone has any questions, we'll actually provide all of our contact information at the end of this. If you do want to go through, like I said, different scenarios, you have questions, maybe want to do an overview of the greater Phoenix Metro as far as where could be some good opportunities right now, feel free to reach out and we'd love to have a conversation.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.